Welcome back. Ed Martin here in the Pro America Report. Visit proamericareport.com, proamericareport.com. You can track all these great interviews like I'm about to do with Tim Gordon. And also you can sign up for the daily email there, which you want to do. So I picked up this personality. I didn't even pick up the story. I did see the story, but I noticed that on Twitter, there was a guy named Tim Gordon who was very outspoken, but also very thoughtful. I could tell reading his bio, he's a teacher. He'd written books. He got a theology background, just an interesting guy. And so I was tracking him, and then he lost his job as a teacher at a Catholic school because he was commenting on Black Lives Matter, this so-called cancel culture, which usually you get canceled, they throttle you back on Twitter, or we're seeing the Federalist.com get jerked around. But here he actually he's paying a bigger price, and as his Twitter feed is at Tim O Theology. What did I do here, Tim? You have to explain what you're doing there. At Tim O Theology. There's two. I don't know. I'll put it up on social media. But welcome, first of all, Tim Gordon. How are you, sir?
I'm excellent. Thanks a million. I'm pleased to be with you today.
Well, it's good to be with you, and you got books that you've written, and your website is timothyjgordon.com. They can find out more about what you're doing. But first, let me ask you, how have you found being a writer, being a blogger, using social media? Because you're very upfront that you're coming at this from a faith perspective. You're someone that's one of your leading aspects of who you are. So tell me how well or poorly before this it was working for you to be communicating and educating and teaching broadly, not just at school.
Well, I'm the original conservative viewpoint, Thomism. That's Thomas Aquinas, the greatest scholar saint of the church. Teach it every day in the classroom as the theology department chairman, and it's entirely applicable to horrible, popular current events like the rioting, the murder, the mayhem in the streets we've been seeing for the last 2.5 weeks. And so when I comment on it on Twitter, some of my students pick it up. Most of my students in my politically conservative city of Bakersfield, California, they like it. They see it. The families here appreciate me, and they also know that I'm teaching their kids the true faith. But I'll tell you what, man, I'm in a good position to make apt statements on terrorist organizations like BLM, and a statement like BLM is a terrorist organization, which is an FBI designation. And when you do so, you get the blowback even from a Catholic school, especially from a Catholic school in 2020.
We're talking with Tim Gordon, and again, his website is timothyjgordon.com, and you should go check it out. He's got books he's written, his writings there, even your statement. So today, I noticed a day or two ago, or it's pinned on your tweet about the statement you put out after you were terminated. What's the progression here? I mean, you by the way, you've been doing a podcast too, right? I mean, this isn't like you weren't the guy that was teaching, Middle English lit and kind of chanting Beowulf and then suddenly made a comment. You've been teaching theology. You've been teaching about the challenges that church faces and all this. In other words, you're not new to this. So what's your description of tell me what happened? You said something on Twitter and then you just get bam out of the blue, the school send you a message?
Yeah, it's a weird, precipitous development because I am a well-known Catholic conservative. I was, I was co-host on the #1 Catholic podcast of 2018-2019, along with Dr. Taylor Marshall. A lot of your audience will be familiar with him.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
And I was doing all of that kind of daylighting as a theology department chairman at Garces Memorial High School in Bakersfield. Again, the reason I keep hitting this is because most people are used to big education mill Catholic high schools being characterized as sellouts, which is apt. But Garces is a little different because it's a politically conservative area whose faithful donors in the area, the one Catholic high school, have famously turned into a mantra, hey, if anything ever happens to Tim Gordon, then we no longer support the school. And I was department chairman of theology, teaching their kids the real faith. So, and I've written 2 books. I have a third one coming out later this year. And my podcast is called Rules for Retrogrades, along with one of my books. And it's both conservative and it's Catholic, going in the same direction. So, no, it was not a sudden development that I should tweet something like BLM is a terrorist organization. It's an anti-Christian, anti-family organization with destroying the Western nuclear family in its mission statement. And so it's insane. It's masochism. It is Stockholm syndrome for my school to have fired me, which they did on June the 3rd after a petition from some disgruntled alums from the school, leftist alums, petitioned the school. It all happened within a few hours on June 3rd.
And again, here's the thing. I did a segment earlier. It might've been yesterday on my program when I said that people are so sick. It's like, I don't know whether it's a silent majority. I actually sent an email to Pat Buchanan to ask him to call him. He is great friends with the late Phyllis Schlafly, my boss. And so every now and then I'll talk to him and see if he can tell me what he thinks compared to 68 and 72 politically. So I don't know if it's a silent majority. I don't know what the number is what I'm saying, but there's a silent kind of contingent that is sitting there saying, we're sick of this, man. We're sick of hearing, and there's nobody standing up, nobody actually saying, what the heck are you talking about? That's not true. That's not the truth. So I want to ask you, because I want to be encouraged. I hope I will be. Have you got a lot of support? Have you had people coming out of the woodwork saying, man, Tim Gordon, you said what we knew, you're paying a price, but we believe in you? Has there been that kind of groundswell, or once again, is someone who's standing up for the truth maybe standing alone?
It's an important question, and there are two dimensions. One's good, one's bad. Silently, I will say thank you, conservatives and Catholics and Christians. I have gotten a lot of support on my website, timothyjgordon.com. People have been very generous. There's a donate button there, and I really, really appreciate that. That's the upside. Yeah. The downside is this, Mr. Martin, that people don't want to do it themselves, which renders mythic or at least exaggerated the extent to which we can reasonably discuss a silent majority or a sleeping giant. You're gonna piss off the conservative majority in this country, radicals, if you keep this up. No, that there's not. The people that are donating to me, thank you. But what we need to start doing is having everyone out there speaking their mind and talking, because the First Amendment, which protects our speech as against the government, against something called viewpoint discrimination, as the late, great Justice Scalia called it, that only protects against government actors, against government defendants. It does not protect, you don't have a First Amendment right as against other private sector actors like your employer. So what the left does, who's basically genius, they're winners. We on the right are soggy losers. We have nothing to laugh at them about, aside from the wrongness of their ideas, but they're great at selling their wrong ideas. What they do is they attack us using private sector actors, and it's something that we must rechristen like nuanced viewpoint discrimination. There's no way to attack it since we don't have a right against non-governmental actors. The only way to begin doing it is to change the culture where we all speak loudly in the same tone of voice with the same substantive ideas to our employees. We say, no, we're gonna all talk this way. This is what we believe, not in hushed, dulcet tones.
Hey, I think this is really great. I'm glad you came on, and we're talking with Tim Gordon. And again, he mentioned his website, timothyjgordon.com. He's got a button there to help support him in his work and buy his books. And I'll put all of it up on social media. Tim, I think I started pinging you on Twitter, but I finally found one biography that describes this, that you studied in Rome at 2 universities, and I studied in Rome at 2 universities, and quite amazingly, they're the same 2. And so how about that I was at the Ange and the Gregorian for a while as a lay student, as you were too. So that's good. But boy, you came out really well-formed, more well-formed than me, man. That was a great explanation of where we are. I look forward to hearing more from you. I want to encourage you, if we can be a resource to get the word out on things, come on back on the show. If you've got more books, I did see you got some conferences coming up. Is there anything you're doing soon that you could tell our listeners about? Most of our listeners, by the way, our radio station originates out of San Diego, but it's also broadcast around the country as a podcast. But anything upcoming people could be attuned to?
Yeah, well, I'll be doing a Southern California conference in the fall, put on by Mr. Patrick Coffin. I'll be working with Church Militant in August at a conference there. The main thing is to buy my books, Catholic Republic and Rules for Retrogrades, and have one coming out in late 2020 called No Christian Feminism. My podcast is also called Rules for Retrogrades. And again, I was fired I support 6 kids and a wife and me, and it was less than 2 months after my daughter, my somewhat famous eldest daughter, Abigail, had a large brain surgery, a hemispherectomy. So she's still recovering, and at the end of next month, we'll lose our insurance. So any way people can help by buying books or more directly through donations to timothyjgordon.com would be so much appreciated.
All right, man. Thank you, Tim Gordon. We'll put it out, put the word out, and circulate it. And we wish you well, and thanks for all you're doing. And like I said, keep me on a short chain and let me know what's going on. We'd love to promote your stuff. So Timothy Gordon, again, it's timothyjgordon.com. Thanks for coming on, sir.
Thanks a million. Keep the fight.
All right, man. We'll talk again soon. I will take another break. We'll be right back. Don't forget, go to proamericareport.com, proamericareport.com. Get signed up for that daily email, as well as track down great interviews like I just had with Tim Gordon. You can listen there and pass them on to your friends and all the rest. We'll be right back. It's Ed Martin here on the Pro America Report.